Good afternoon, everyone. I think we can start the webinar now. So welcome. Thank you for joining my webinar. The topic today is COVID-19 Business Support Update, and I am very happy to see you here. Over the last couple of weeks since the pandemic started, the Irish government announced many forms of support for small businesses and also employees. There is really a lot of information coming from many sources, and it may feel quite difficult to follow, and it may also feel overwhelming for many. So I decided to gather this information to make it easier for you. What am I going to talk about today? I'm going to give you some guidance on what forms of financial support you can get if your business was affected by COVID-19 pandemic. I just want you to know that this information is sourced from official government websites and also social welfare, companies registration office, local enterprise office, and so on. I want to assure you that this information is reliable. We are going to cover the most important aspects because I want to give you a broad overview of several forms of help that you can receive. Unfortunately, I'm afraid we will not have enough time to go through each of them in detail, but I will send you links to the relevant websites where you can get more information. You can also email me if you have a more detailed query, and I will do my best to reply to you as soon as possible. This webinar is recorded, and all of you will receive an email with a link to the video. So there is no need to worry about taking notes during the presentation. What's the agenda for today? I'm going to start with a quick introduction of myself and my company. And then we are going to talk a little bit about the current situation with COVID-19. And I'm going to move on to talk about in more detail about support for businesses in Ireland. Mainly, we will cover social welfare support, updates from Revenue Office. We will talk quite some more about access to funding and other support for businesses. We are going to sum everything up at the end and conclude the session. A quick introduction. My name is Anita. I am a founder and owner of a digital practice, Nimbus Accounting Limited. It is a small family business which I started around a year ago. Prior to that, I spent over 20 years working in industry, mainly multinational companies of different sizes. I gained experience in various financial and management accounting roles. I am a chartered accountant, ACCA, and my company is also a member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. What is our mission? We help digital businesses across Ireland understand their numbers and manage business money by providing outsourced cloud accounting and virtual CFO services. I just want to mention here that we are not just traditional year-end accountants who prepare your annual accounts, tax returns, and look after your bookkeeping and payroll. On top of that, we provide our clients with ongoing support to help them manage finances in their business and to help them navigate through difficult times like the crisis we are experiencing at the moment. What's the current situation with COVID-19? I'm sure you follow the news every day and you are fully aware of how serious the situation is. So there is no need for me to go through it again. The restrictions have been tightened even further. Since Friday, 27th of March, we are in a full lockdown phase, and now it has been extended to at least the 5th of May. It is difficult, and it does feel scary for many people. I'm sure everyone will admit it. And it really makes you realize how fragile human life is. So the most important thing at the moment is to look after yourselves and your families. That's number one without a question. But you also have to think about the business you are running. I know you probably worry a lot, ask a lot of questions, like for instance, is it going to survive this crisis? Will I have sufficient money to continue? Will I have to lay people off? There are surely loads of questions. But worrying constantly and just sitting and waiting is not going to help you. You can still get support for your business. So the best thing to do now is to learn about what help is available and to act quickly. So what support is available? The government announced many forms of support for small businesses and also for employees in Ireland. I'm going to run through the list to highlight what sort of help you can get in each particular area. Then we will move on to talk more about each of them. So the most important ones, well, the big one is the support from social welfare. So the department prepared a range of measures to provide income support to people affected by the pandemic. So the biggest scheme is COVID-19 pandemic unemployment payment. And the next one is COVID-19 enhanced illness benefit and short-time work support scheme. What support is available from the Revenue Office, so our taxation office? The following information and guidance is available from Revenue to assist taxpayers experiencing a range of difficulties caused by the impact of the pandemic. The big scheme, the major and the most important one, is temporary COVID-19 wage subsidy scheme. Then the Revenue Office also provides some measures in relation to make it easier for business owners to file their tax returns. There are some reliefs in relation to tax payments and penalties. How can you get funding for your small business? This may be the most interesting part of the presentation for many of you. The following state institutions have prepared a number of financial support options for small businesses. The information I'm going to present comes from their official websites like Local Enterprise Office, Enterprise Ireland, Department of Business, Enterprise and Innovation, and Banking and Payments Federation. So we are going to talk about business continuity voucher from Local Enterprise Office, about COVID-19 loans from Microfinance Ireland, and about financial support from Enterprise Ireland, DBEI, SBCI. I'm going to explain what this means later on. What other forms of support are available? We are going to talk about banking and loan repayment options. There are some measures for businesses and for personal customers as well. I'm going to give you an update about commercial rates deferral. And we are going to talk a little bit about measures implemented by companies registration office. This will relate to limited companies. Let's start with talking about support from the Department of Employment Affairs and Social Protection, simply social welfare. The most important scheme is called COVID-19 Pandemic Unemployment Payment. I'm sure that majority of you have heard about it by this stage. I'm just going to go through it to summarize the most important aspects. So this is a payment of €350 per week. It is available to all employees and also self-employed people who have lost their job due to COVID-19 pandemic. The payment will be in place for the duration of the crisis. Who can qualify for this payment? So as I mentioned already, both employees and self-employed people. The age has to be between 18 and 66 years old. They have to live in the Republic of Ireland. And the employees who have lost a job due to COVID-19 or self-employed who ceased trading due to COVID-19. This is actually a very important factor. A self-employed person has to cease trading, so literally close their business in order to avail of this payment. There is one more condition, that a self-employed or an employee have been in employment or self-employment immediately before Friday, the 13th of March. As I said earlier, this pandemic unemployment payment is paid at a flat rate of €350 per week for the duration of the pandemic emergency. Originally, it was set at a rate of €203, but it was increased by the government on the 24th of March. The payment will be paid for up to 12 weeks. It has also been increased from 6 weeks originally. How can you apply for this payment? The easiest and the quickest way to apply is to do it online through My Welfare website. In order to do that, you will need your MyGov ID. If you don't have it, it's a very, very quick procedure, a couple of clicks and you can get it. Or alternatively, you can download a form from their website and send it by post. I would definitely recommend applying online because it's much quicker and easier, and you can get approved much quicker than by sending it by post. Just to give you some more recent updates. So the revenue announced that tens of thousands of people who have lost their job as a result of the pandemic received their first benefit payment on the 31st of March. The Pandemic Unemployment Payment Scheme currently provides income support for over 500,000 people. That's really a huge amount of unemployed people. And they did a great job, really a great job in dealing with all the applications relatively quickly. So by this stage, they processed all the applications received for the emergency payment. So if you have applied, but you have not received your payment yet, it means that either your application had errors or it was simply rejected. But if you feel otherwise, if you feel you are eligible for a payment, you can still reapply by following the same procedure. The next way of support is COVID-19 enhanced illness benefit. So this is an illness benefit payment for people who have been diagnosed with COVID-19 or people who have to self-isolate. The weekly payment rate is a higher rate of €350, and similarly to the previous scheme, it is available for both employees and self-employed. The enhanced illness benefit will be paid for a maximum of 2 weeks if a person is self-isolating, and for a maximum of 10 weeks if a person has been diagnosed with COVID-19. Who can qualify? A person must be self-isolating on the instruction from a doctor. That's very important. You cannot decide yourself that you are going to self-isolate and get this payment. You have to be instructed by your doctor, or you have to be diagnosed with COVID-19, obviously by your doctor as well. A person must be absent from work and stay at home if self-isolating. What's the best way to apply? First of all, in order to apply, you need to get a medical certificate, an illness benefit certificate from your doctor, and you should send it to social welfare in a normal way. So that's generally the procedure. Short-time work support scheme. This scheme has been in place previously. It's not a new scheme. They are just letting people know that they can avail of it if needed. In this case, in order to qualify for the scheme, if this is the case that you have to reduce working hours in your business, your employees will qualify to apply for a short-time work support. This is an income support payment which is quite similar to the job seekers benefit. For any days that an employee is not working, they will receive the supporting payment. The rate of payment is in a proportion of the maximum job seekers benefit weekly rate of €203. So let's say if someone worked 2 days per week, they will receive 2/5 of the full rate of €203. It makes about €81. Who can qualify? So as I mentioned at the beginning, employees whose working hours have been reduced on a temporary basis, employees who previously worked full-time but now work 3 days or less, and they also need to satisfy other normal conditions for job seekers' payment. Similarly to previous schemes, the easiest, the quickest way to apply is through My Welfare website. Alternatively, you can visit your local intra office and apply in a traditional way. There have been some changes in relation to social welfare payments. On the 19th of March, the department announced that social welfare payments will be paid on a double 2-week basis. This means that instead of being paid weekly, you would be paid your social welfare payment every 2 weeks. So why did they do that? So first of all, this reduces the need for people to leave home during the pandemic to collect social welfare payments. And it also supports social distancing, obviously. The new measure applies both to people who collect their payments at post and people who are paid into their bank account. The first double payment was made on some social welfare schemes starting on the 23rd of March. Now let's move on to the support provided by Revenue Office. Temporary COVID-19 wage subsidy scheme. As I said, this is the major scheme and the most important one. This scheme enables employees affected by the pandemic to receive significant supports directly from their employer. The scheme is expected to last for 12 weeks from the 26th of March until end of June 2020, and it will be available to employers who keep employees on the payroll throughout the pandemic. This is very important. The employer has to keep the employees on payroll. They cannot lay them off in order to avail of this scheme. So why did they do it? The government, first of all, they want to prevent redundancies and to preserve employment, obviously. It also facilitates the processing of payments. It's much quicker and easier to process them through employer's payroll and then refund the employer. So this temporary wage subsidy scheme replaces the previous COVID-19 employer refund scheme and significantly increases the support payment from €203 per employee per week. What are the key features of the scheme? From Thursday, the 26th of March, the subsidy scheme will start to refund up to a maximum of €410 per each qualifying employee. As I said earlier, employers make this payment through their payroll. This is very important. And employers are expected to make their best efforts to maintain as close to 100% of normal income. So employers are expected to top up the payment up to the full 100% of income. Obviously, in some cases, it will not be possible. So if only it is possible, employers are expected to do it. What happens next? Revenue will refund the payments directly to the employer's bank account within 2 working days after receipt of the payroll submission. And from what I know, this is actually happening. They are very quick in processing the refunds, provided the employers submit their bank details on the revenue website, on ROS service, which is actually quite a big issue because many of them did not update it and they didn't get the money. Starting in late April, subsidy payments of 70% of the weekly net pay will be introduced, up to maximum of €410. It's important to note that income tax and universal social charge will not apply to these subsidy payments. However, it will apply to any top-up payments made by the employers. In terms of PRSI, employee PRSI will not apply to any subsidy or top-up payment, but employers' PRSI will not apply to the subsidy, but a reduced rate of 0.5% will apply to the top-up. Just to mention here, because it's quite confusing, many people understood and many business owners understood that it means that these payments are not liable to taxes at all. This is not true. This means that they are only deferring the payment of tax, income tax, universal social charge, and PRSI. Once your annual income tax return is done, this payment, the income tax liability will be calculated. Most probably they will introduce some measures to defer or to spread the payments over the full year, but it doesn't mean the tax will not be paid at all. Who does the scheme apply to? It applies to all employers from all sectors whose business was affected by COVID-19 pandemic. As I said many times already, employers have to retain the staff on payroll. Employers who experienced at least 25% reduction in revenues due to COVID-19. Just to add here that at this stage during the application process, the revenue will not require any proof of the reduction in the revenues. You just submit, the employer just submits a declaration saying that their revenues have reduced. But at a later stage, the revenue has a right to come back to you and to request the proof and a documentation proving that the revenue was reduced. So it's important to keep that in mind. The other conditions are employers who are not able to pay wages in full. Employees has to be on payroll as at the 29th of February, and for whom a payroll submission has already been made to revenue in the period from 1st of February to the 15th of March. How can you apply? Employers themselves or their agents can apply through ROS services on the revenue website. Employers have to, first of all, employers have to register their interest to participate in the scheme. They can do it through ROS service and My Inquiries option. In terms of technical issues with processing the payroll, majority of employers would use external payroll providers, and they should be able to assist you because there are certain measures and technical solutions implemented in payroll software in order to process these particular payments through payroll. Just to let you know that more detailed information about the scheme and the application process is available from the revenue website. They published a very detailed PDF guide which they updated regularly, so it would be too much to include everything in this webinar, so I would really refer you to the guides published on revenue website if you need to dig deeper into the rules of this scheme. Revenue Office has also provided some relief for taxpayers in relation to filing tax returns. So individuals and businesses should, if they can, continue to file their returns even if payment of the resulting liabilities is not possible. So what they are telling you, you should continue to calculate and submit your tax returns, your income tax returns, your VAT returns. If you are liable for tax and you cannot pay it, that's fine. You submit it and you don't pay it at the moment. There are other measures to make it easier for you, but you should submit it anyway. So if it is not possible for you to calculate the exact income or tax or VAT liability, you should submit a return on a best estimate basis. There is one more update. The application of a surcharge for corporation tax returns for accounting periods ending June 19 onwards, they are due by March 20. They were due by March 23rd. It is suspended until further notice. What about tax payments and penalties? There are other measures for taxpayers who are experiencing tax payment difficulties. The Revenue Office announced that all debt enforcement activity is suspended until further notice. So they will not be chasing you for overdue payments at the moment. Also, interest on late payments will not be applied for all small and medium businesses in relation to January, February VAT returns and February, March PAYE returns. They also announced that charging of interest on late payments is suspended also for March, April VAT and April PAYE liabilities. So I suppose it's quite a relief that you don't need to sit here and worry that it will going to crash your cash flow ability. So that's a useful one. An important thing to note here, if you are experiencing any difficulties with timely tax payments, just don't assume it will go away. You should contact the revenue as soon as possible, really. They will work with you to find a viable solution. They understand the pressure, they understand the situation, and in circumstances like this, they can be cooperative, really. Access to funding. That's the hottest topic, I think. The following state institutions have prepared a number of financial support options for small businesses affected by the pandemic. The information I'm going to give you comes from their official websites: Local Enterprise Office, Enterprise Ireland, Department of Business, Enterprise and Innovation, and also Banking and Payments Federation of Ireland. The first one is the new business continuity voucher, which is available through local enterprise offices. This scheme is designed for businesses across every sector, applies to small businesses that employ up to 50 people. The value of the voucher is €2,500, and it can be used by companies and sole traders, mainly to cover consultancy fees needed to develop strategies to respond to the crisis caused by the pandemic. The voucher covers 100% of the cost, which is not usual for the scheme, because previous vouchers covered, you had to include some of your money in order to avail of the scheme. But in this case, you don't need to contribute any of your own money. They will refund, they will finance 100% of the cost. What can you use the voucher for? So you can use it to pay third-party consultants to develop, for instance, your business continuity plan, to prepare a cash flow forecast for your business, to assist with current financial needs, to reduce variable costs or overheads, to implement remote working processes, also to obtain HR advice in relation to retaining or laying off your staff. You can also use it to pay someone to prepare an application for funding for you, which is quite useful, I think. How can you apply? In order to apply, you need to download an application form from Leo website, and then you need to send a completed form to them by email. The form is really very simple. You just need to provide very basic information about your business, about your plans, about what you want to use the voucher for. It's really a quick and simple process. Once you send it to them by email, an advisor will contact you and they will work with you through the application process. I would really encourage you to apply for this one. Loads of businesses have already applied and they are really granting the money with no delay. And just one more thing worth mentioning, Local Enterprise Office also provides many other forms of support like mentoring and consultancy, online networking and seminars. There is access to a lot of online learning opportunities. So I think it's definitely worth checking. COVID-19 loans from Microfinance Ireland. It is a government initiative to support small businesses through the current period of crisis. What is on offer? The value of loans is up to €50,000, which is twice the normal amount, because usually they offer micro loans of up to €25,000. The terms of the loan are up to 3 years. And what's very, very important, it is interest and repayment free for the first 6 months. So literally, you get cash, you use it, you spend it, and you don't worry about the repayments for the next half a year. So it's really a huge benefit. Who can qualify? If you are a micro business employing no more than 10 people and annual turnover of maximum 2 million, you will qualify. Your business has to be impacted by at least 15% reduction in revenues due to the pandemic. I think that majority of businesses will meet this condition. 15% reduction is not a lot, and I'm pretty sure that many of you have experienced that. And one more condition is that you do not qualify to receive a loan from a commercial bank. What's the application process? It's actually relatively quick and simplified. You can download all the forms from Microfinance Ireland website. Once you register your interest, an advisor will contact you and guide you through the application process. You will need to prepare a simple business plan and a cash flow forecast, but don't worry, they provide the templates for it, and there are also guides and webinars, tutorials on how to complete it, so it's not a rocket science, it's not too difficult. You also need to provide bank statements for 6 months and a credit report. Just to mention that you can also apply through your local enterprise office, and then you will receive a discounted interest rate of 4.5%. Normally it is 5.5% if you apply through Microfinance Ireland. So if you do it through Leo, you get 1% less. Enterprise Ireland, they have a number of supports available to help businesses mitigate the impact of the pandemic. I will just point out the most important ones. So the big scheme of 200 million euro, a big package for enterprise supports, including a rescue and restructuring scheme. It is available through Enterprise Ireland for viable and vulnerable firms that need to restructure or transform their business. The next one is called Finance in Focus. It's a grant of up to 7,200 euro. And it is available to support financial planning for small businesses. Be Prepared grant of up to 5,000. It is designed for Enterprise Ireland clients who would benefit from further research and external expertise in examining their exposure to COVID-19. I would really refer you to Enterprise Ireland website. They provide very detailed information about each of the schemes and the application process. It's really, there is also a lot of other useful information available there, so it's really worth checking. The Department of Business, Enterprise and Innovation offers credit guarantee scheme for COVID-19. The purpose of this scheme is to encourage additional lending to SMEs by offering a partial government guarantee to banks against losses on qualifying loans. The guarantee is at the moment at 80%. The funding starts from 10,000 and is provided up to 1 million. The terms of the loans are up to 7 years. Who can apply to the scheme? So the qualifying businesses are viable micro, small and medium-sized enterprises which have fewer than 250 employees and turnover of maximum 50 million. They have to be independent and have less than 25% of their capital held by public bodies. How can you apply? Businesses can approach a participating lender who will make all decisions on approving loan applications. At the moment, currently, Ulster Bank, Bank of Ireland and AIB are participating in this scheme. The department itself plays no role in the application or decision-making process, which is fully delegated to the participating lenders, so the banks. I just want to let you know that the department also provides a very useful tool, which is called Business Continuity Planning Checklist COVID-19. This checklist is available to download from their website, and it identifies some of the key risks to the continuity of your business during the crisis. It can help you prepare to take necessary action to mitigate this risk. It's really a very useful tool, and I would really encourage you to try this one. The department is also operating a business support call center to advise on the government supports available to businesses affected by the pandemic. What is available from Strategic Banking Corporation of Ireland? What kind of support did they provide? So the COVID-19 Working Capital Scheme is offered in partnership with the Department of Business, Enterprise and Innovation. The loans will be available through the major banks, AIB, Bank of Ireland and Ulster Bank. The approval of loans, similarly to the previous scheme, are subject to the bank's own credit policies and procedures. So the approval is fully delegated to the banks which participate in the scheme. What are the loan features? 200 million working capital for eligible businesses impacted by the pandemic. Loans between 25,000 up to 1.5 million will be available at reduced rates, with up to the first 500,000 unsecured. The maximum interest rate is 4%, and the terms of the loan ranging from 1 year to 3 years. Similarly to the previous scheme, who can apply? All viable micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, businesses, which have fewer than 250 employees and turnover of maximum 50 million. They need to be independent and have less than 25% of their capital held by public bodies. The best way to apply is through their website. First, the applying enterprise must complete the eligibility application form just to check if they qualify to apply to the banks for a loan under the scheme. If you are eligible, you will receive a letter of confirmation, which then you will present to the bank as part of the credit application process. Other support for businesses. Banks in Ireland set out a joint plan to support businesses and personal customers impacted by the pandemic. So they have introduced the following measures. The first and the most important one is a payment break of up to 3 months for businesses and also personal customers affected by COVID-19. So if you have a mortgage or a personal loan or a business loan with any of the banks, you can now take a break from repaying it. I think it's a great thing to do. At the moment, the major banks, AIB, Bank of Ireland and Ulster Bank, have introduced a really quick and easy online application process for loan repayments deferral. You can access it from their main websites, and it's really a very quick and easy thing to do. You are not risking anything. It's worth trying. Important to note that banks want to ensure that any COVID-19 application for a payment break will not impact the customer's credit record. That's very important. Another small feature which is useful for individual customers is the limit of contactless credit card payments has been raised from 30 to 50 euro. Bank will also defer any court proceedings for 3 months, and the banking system stands ready to provide working capital support. A very useful information about commercial rates deferral. The government agreed with local authorities, county councils, that they should defer rates payments due from the most immediately impacted businesses. So primarily in the retail, hospitality and leisure and childcare sectors. They should defer the payments for 3 months until the end of May. It's important to note that this measure will be implemented by each local authority in its own area. So it's not centralized. So for instance, Dublin County Council will make their own decision, Fingal County Council will make their own decision. So you need to apply to your you need to inquire with your own local county council. If you had to temporarily close or significantly reduce operations during the COVID-19, you should contact your local authority immediately to negotiate the deferral. But on the other hand, if you can continue to pay your outstanding local authority rates, they are expecting you to do so in the normal way. In relation to limited companies operating in Ireland, the Companies Registration Office, CRO, announced on the 20th of March that annual returns due to be filed by companies from now up to the 30th of June will be considered as filed on time if they are completed and filed by the 30th of June. So let's say your return is due on the 30th of April. If you file it by the 30th of June, they will still treat it as filed on time and they will not charge you any penalties for the late payment. The purpose of it is just to enable businesses to focus on the more immediate, more important challenges at this time. They are just highlighting that if possible, you should continue to file the annual returns as normal, and only in exceptional circumstances you are allowed to file late. So it's time for a conclusion now. To sum up, I just want to share this quote with you. The way to get started is to quit talking and start doing. I really like this quote, and I think there is no need to add anything else here. I will just say that the worst thing you can do now is do nothing. Just sit and do nothing. You can't afford to do nothing in this situation. So please take this information with you and make a good use of it. I know it's a lot to process, and I have to say that it was quite challenging to pack everything into this one presentation. So I am going to send you a recording of this webinar to everyone who attended, so you have it handy and you can come back to it anytime you need. I will also send you a list of links to the websites that I mentioned during this presentation, and you can use it whenever you need. If you still feel stuck and you don't know where to go and what to do, this is what we, myself and my company, can do for you immediately, and we will not charge you for it. We really understand that the circumstances are difficult, and we want to help as much as we can. This is what we can offer you immediately, free of charge. First of all, we, myself and my company, work using cloud software totally remotely. So you will not have to contact us in person, which is very important in current circumstances. We can help you prepare a cash flow forecast for the next 12 months to make sure your business has sufficient money to go on. We can advise you on official help for your business in your particular case, and we can guide you on how to prepare relevant applications. We also offer online consultations for up to 60 minutes, absolutely free. Usually it is 30 minutes, but I have increased it due to current pandemic situation. So if you want to discuss anything, if you have any worries or concerns in relation to your business, just give me a shout and I will schedule an online call. We can have a casual chat when you will be able to ask your questions. You can see my contact details on the screen at the moment. So if you need any help, just get in touch. Don't hesitate. No need to worry. We can just have an informal chat about all your worries and concerns. So I can see, unfortunately, we will not have enough time for a live questions and answers sessions at the moment, but if you feel you need to ask a question, you can just email it to me. I will do my best to reply to you as soon as I can. Just one last note, please keep an eye on my social media profiles, and I encourage you to follow them. I will be providing more advice and organizing more webinars to support you in this difficult time. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for attending. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. Stay well and safe, and bye for now.